Good evening, everyone. I see it is now 7 o'clock, so we'd like to say welcome to the June Board of Directors meeting. We thank you for being here. Finally, we have a little bit of summer. We hope it sticks around for another 2-3 months. So at this time, I would like to call our meeting to order, and following that, we'll go to the invocation, and Brian Elling will do the invocation for us. Brian?
Dear Lord and gracious Heavenly Father, we gather tonight at this meeting and we want to pause and thank you for the collective efforts and discussions which have gone into planning these items that have led us to this evening. We thank you also for all those who are present here tonight and who care so much about Sandy Pines. May they too be encouraged tonight with our discussions. In all that we do and pray, we pray for wisdom and guidance as we make these decisions. May these decisions also be pleasing to you as we collectively discuss matters at hand. May we provide positive leadership and direction in all that we do on behalf of the members, the staff, and our leadership. I pray that our collective efforts that we have prepared will be fruitful and multiplied in ways that only you can. Please keep us safe and also guard our hearts and minds from pride and selfishness. And we just ask for your blessing on this evening. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Brian. Item number 3 is a roll call, and we'll turn to Kimberly for the roll call.
Ellen Carpenter. Here. Rick Day.
Here.
Brian Elling.
Here.
Jenny Hager.
Here.
Jim Huck.
Here.
Kelly Johnson.
Here.
Dennis King.
Here.
Chad Ostrom.
Here.
Don Van Dueselaar.
Here.
All present.
Item number 4 is the approval of the minutes of our regular season of May 17, 2019. I just want to point out that these minutes have been gone over rather thoroughly at our work session on Monday, but if there are any changes that have developed since that time on behalf of some of the board members, we'll make sure that they are included in these minutes. Seeing none, we'll call for the question.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Rick Day, seconded by Dennis King. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary, the same sign. Thank you. That is carried. Item number 5 is the approval of new park members. Just as a brief summary, would like to indicate that there are 35 new members were welcome to the park. We generally take a look at the membership, and there are 62% of those that are still involved, working and in their careers, and 38% make up the retirees. So we need a motion at this time to accept the new members of the park. Moved by Kelly Johnson, seconded by, who is that? Jenny. Okay, Jenny Hager. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, opposed, same sign. That is carried. The next item on our agenda is the executive personnel, and then some comments to be made. I would like to point out that on those tables off to the side, my left, your right, are the plans for the new North Shore Center. They will be out and for your viewing this evening, as well as any other public meetings that we have, so that everybody has a chance to take a look at them and give us some feedback. We'd really appreciate that. I would also like to say that a committee has been formed to search for the new park president. The committee is made up of the officers of the board, and we have already started to meet. We had a number of meetings, and it's very early in that stage. One of the things that we did set that we would like to have this task accomplished by September 1. So if you know of, or you might hear that somebody is interested, we would certainly ask you to encourage them to submit a resume. So that would be wonderful if we have a number of candidates to choose from, and we're quite sure that we're going to have a number of candidates to review before the process is entirely over. So I have no other comments beyond that. So let's go right into item number 6. We have finance. We have the April financial statements for Sandy Pines Campground, and then for the golf course. And Jenny Hager, I'm going to turn to Jenny because she is chair of the Finance Committee, and they had a meeting, and so Jenny, we'll turn it over to you.
The Finance Committee met last Thursday, and we reviewed the check registers for both Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails and for Lake Monterey Golf Course. It was for the month of April, so not a huge amount of activity just yet, but a lot of, we could see a lot of things being purchased and things, expenditures for getting ready for the season. The committee approved the check registers, and they also approved the financial statements for both of the entities for the month of April.
Okay, now for some greater detail, we will ask Kimberly to give us a little bit of overview of those statements.
Okay, first I will cover just the financial statements of Sandy Pines. We did review these during the planning meeting, and a few items that were noted to the board. Our cash and cash equivalents continues to increase in planning as planned, and is up about 1.03 million. So it's we're increasing that just to increase our cash flow and our cash reserves. Liabilities are down by 28,000, and our total equity is up 848,000. Again, looking to improve our cash flow and our cash days in reserve, keeping our liabilities down and retaining our equity, which is really the focus to improve the value of the park. So we're on course with that. Admin is showing us 7,000 more in loss to date, with basically the same income. The most common cause of this is an increased cost related to human resources and some restructuring in that department, just with different human resource items. Other line items on the M&P&L, however, balance to that total loss. So there's no other change there. Maintenance has an improved net profit of 18,000. That is primarily to their expenses being reduced from prior year. Public safety also has an improved net profit loss of 18,000. Resort services has an overall net profit improvement of 198,000. 124,000 of that is specifically from increased revenue, which is the typical increase in CPI of dues to cover the expenses within the park. Park and Garden is up 27,000 over last year, and our rentals is up 22,000. That is encouraging, and we're kind of keeping an eye on that stuff with the weather trends, but feel comfortable as of now. Sales and hospitality has an overall net profit increase of 72,000 over last year. So we're continuing to have improvement there as well. Those are my comments for Sandy Pines.
Okay, are there any questions of Kimberly on behalf of board members? Okay, we will do a roll call, so if I could have a motion to approve the Sandy Pines Campground financial statement. So moved by Jim Huck and supported by Alan. Thank you. Okay, last opportunity for any questions or comments in regards to the financial statements. Okay, if none, Kimberly, if you will conduct the roll call.
Brian Elling. Jenny Hager. Jim Huck. Kelly Johnson. Dennis King. Chad Ostrom. Don Van Duselaar.
Yes.
Ellen Carpenter. And Rick Day. All approved.
Okay. That will go on to the golf course Kimberly, if you want to give us some of the details on that as well.
This will be short and sweet. The Lake Monterey Golf Course hasn't had a whole lot of activity in the month of April. It's very early in the season, and definitely with the weather pattern too, there wasn't much activity there. However, our top current assets on the balance sheet, which we usually look at, just the top 5 items on the balance sheet, that shows an increase of $126,000 over last year to date, along with an increase of $67,000 in total assets. So our current liabilities are up $88,000, with total liabilities down $66,000. The result of that is just invoice pending and timing. Our total equity is up $73,000. So again, looking just at the overall value in the golf course, which is great. Income statement showing consistent to last year, which is good in relation to the recent weather patterns. Those are my comments.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
One correction there, Kimberly. The current liabilities are 8,800. That's all right.
okay.
There's
we'll
a
take-
decimal point missing. It was 8.8 thousand, and that, I made that comment wrong, but that is 8.8 thousand, so it's just a minor invoice that was up with current liabilities. Thank you, Jean.
Okay. Now we need a motion. We'll take a roll call on this financial statement. Moved by Kelly Johnson and seconded by Brian Elling. Okay. Any comments or questions in regards to board members? Okay. Then Kimberly, if you would conduct a roll call, please.
Jim Huck? Kelly Johnson? Dennis King? Chad Ostrom? Don Van Duselaar?
Yes.
Ellen Carpenter? Rick Day? Brian Elling? Jenny Hager? All approved.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 7, we have a number of proposed rule changes to the handbook. In fact, there are approximately changes to 6 different sections of our rules. 2 of those 6 are going to be new sections to the rules. So Kelly Johnson is served as the liaison from the board to the Rules Committee, and he has done a lot of work with that, and so I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to see if he has some comments or...
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to give a basic overview of what the Rules Committee reviewed and acted upon and they made recommendations to this board for approval. The first 2 I'm going to talk about will fall under the conduct rules, and these suggestions were presented by our Director of Safety and Security, Keith, and it deals with alcohol, drugs, and blood alcohol content. Currently, with them being able to now perform tests to measure the blood alcohol content, and because of some past recent incidents, we needed rules in the handbook that will address the extreme blood alcohol content. And there currently wasn't anything in there, so we wanted to put things in writing so that everyone would be aware of what they were. So that was the first one. The second one that they address deals with watercraft regulations, and this is a state requirement now that deals with preparing your boat and cleaning it, and how you can bring it back into Sandy Pines if you take a boat off from us and take it out and use it, or you're bringing a boat in to use here, that it's a member boat. There's some things the state now requires you to how to prepare your boat before you bring it in, so that we don't get bad things in our lake. So what we're doing is adding the language directly from what the state says, and we're adding that into our rules under number 12 watercraft regulations. The next one was suggested from, it's number 14, Lake Pool Beach Designated Swimming Regulations. On page 28, section B line, it currently says, persons with long hair must wear a bathing cap or have their hair tied in a ponytail. And the Rules Committee and the board agrees that that language is no longer, or was not, a state requirement. And so there was a motion made to strike that line from our rules, and we're going to vote on that here shortly. The next items that the Rules Committee sent to us was presented from our inspector, and it deals with Section 3, items requiring permits, and it talks about storage sheds and the maximum height and length and the distance from the road. Now, last spring, I sat through, and Gene and a couple other members, the state was in and did a review, a partial review of certain structures in our building, and made some suggestions, and so we are taking a positive approach and a proactive approach. And so the suggestions that the Ralph had presented to us was to change some of the verbiage, which some of our members are currently not within code, but by changing these, it would not have any effect that would hurt us, since it's a Sandy Pines rule, but would help many of our members become within code, and we'll be able to show the state that we are taking a proactive and we are making things and bringing it into code. So the first one is line 3. One wall of the shed can be a maximum of 8 inches in height and a maximum roof height of 8 feet and 10 feet, thank you. And then the storage shed may be placed right on the side and rear lot lines in a minimum of 4 foot from the road. So currently you have to be a certain number of feet away from the lot lines. And the recommendation was to change that to bring it closer to what we're actually, some of our members are doing, and bring us into code. And then on page 37, golf cart shelter, basically it's the same language. We're changing language to make it better for the members. And then section 4, items requiring 2 permits, and this deals with seawall construction. Currently, all phases that are touched by water have no restrictions on seawalls in their phase, with the exception of phase 6. The language in there says, no seawall constructions will be permitted in phase 6. So after researching that, the only concern that we could find for that rule could have been with the areas with a clay bottom over in phase 6. So the recommendation that we'll be voting on is to remove seawall constructions, or no seawall constructions will be permitted in phase 6. We're moving to strike that from the rules. And to answer the question, there's a big process and procedures you have to go through in order to permit or to put a seawall in. It has to be approved by the DEQ, and after that, after they meet all the requirements for that, then it comes to the park president and the inspector, and they have to approve that. So we figure that's enough rules, and that language is no longer needed in the rules book.
Thank you, Kelly. Is there any comments, questions by board? Dennis?
I have one. Under the alcohol drug item, when it says results of a .18 or higher, the state is .08. Is there a reason why we're at that level? I can tell you when I started in law enforcement, it was .15. Then they went to .10, and now it's .08.
Now that's for a normal blood alcohol. Do you consider it for...
Well, it's all based on their height and their weight, and how quick it absorbs into their system. But .08 is the standard state law, and anything above that, they're intoxicated. You sometimes hear that on the news that they're twice what the limit is, and so it's .08 times 2, it's .16. Yeah, but it says or higher, it says, or greater. That's pretty high.
That's the minimum level for super drunk.
All right, okay. I just wondered why they went to a .18 instead of .08.
Language is correct, Dennis. Okay, the language is correct. It's the .08 for the under the influence, okay? The .18 is super drunk, okay?
Yeah, and this really only pertains to, if someone is super drunk.
Correct.
Right.
Yes,
The whole
okay.
thing is
Right.
based on higher penalties for this level of
Right.
intoxication.
All
Right.
the other language would remain the same.
Here, Dennis, is at the .08, okay?
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, the resolution is on the second page of your packet. So we need someone to move and someone to support this resolution. And maybe on behalf of the audience, there are 6 different rules are being affected, and all of them will be adopted with one resolution. Okay?
I'll make a motion to accept the rule changes as presented.
Okay, Rick Day, move. Do we have a support? The support is Brian Elling. Okay? Okay, now we'll have a roll call. Kimberly?
Jenny Hager? Jim Huck? Kelly Johnson?
Yes.
Dennis King? Chad Ostrom?
Yes.
Don Van Duslar?
Yes.
Ellen Carpenter? Rick Day? Brian Elling? All approved.
The next item is to approve the ballot language for the bylaws and the ballot, which will be presented on August 17 to the membership. So, if you remember, this was brought to us before, and there's just a 2-word change to the bylaw language that's under Article 2, Section 7, death of a member. And so the Section 1, we're just adding the 2 words trust instrument, and that will clarify those that have their site in their trust. So it really clarifies it, and this language was done by Sandy Pine's attorney. So that will be presented to all the members on August 17. And then also on this ballot, we have the number of individuals that will be running for a position on the board. We have Dennis King, who is currently an incumbent, Chad Ostrom, who is an incumbent, Paul Peppel, and then we have Darlene DeWitt and Larry Munger. So those are the members that you will see on the ballot on August 17. So now we need a motion to accept this ballot as presented. So moved by Jim Huck, supported by Helen. Okay, thank you. Any final comments on behalf of board members? Okay. All in favor signify by saying yes. Opposed, same sign. Okay, that is carried. I'm not aware that we have any old business unless we got some members that may have some items that are old business that you feel should come before the board. How about new business? Anybody have any new business that, okay, seeing none. Then let's move up to item number 11, and we have member comments. Just to remind you, you have 2 minutes to make a comment to the board, and please give your name and your site number. So, do we have a mic we can put up there, and then you can come up to the mic over here and make your comments? Okay, who would like to go first?
I wasn't the right political party. That's what they do. I'd like to ask a question about the ordinance with, or the rule change with the, my name is Dave Meadam, on Site 74. On the setback for the golf cart sheds, that's not on the lot line, right? Clarify that. I mean, if you got two people that are on the lot line, what are you going to have in the middle of that but a flood?
Okay.
Huh?
That does allow two buildings to be together, pretty much.
That was well thought of. Right, but what I'm saying is, the first one to the lot line is there. The second one gets right next to it. You're going to have of course, we don't know anything about water nowadays. We're going to have a flood in the middle of that. It's going to like a river in between there. You got two sheds with roofs that all that water comes down. In between there, you're going to have a river in between there. Every time it rains, like overnight or something like that, possibly. You might want to rethink that a little bit. You know, a foot, 2 foot, whatever is. What he stated was the rear lot line, and that's. I wanted to clarify that. Now you're saying the side lot line can be right on the lot line. First one there wins. Or butt them up against each other, right? Is that what we're saying?
You must understand that we're trying to come into compliance here with the rules, with, I guess I would describe them as the campground rules, and the setback of 8 foot, okay, off the road. That's a Sandy Pines deal, okay? What the state wants is us to have a 4 foot around the camping unit. Okay, with that being said, Sandy Pines wants to change the rule, okay, to come in compliance with the state.
So the state is telling us that we have to put our sheds on the lot line.
No.
Okay. I can understand your 4 foot, I can understand the 4 foot from the street. That was very clear, okay? And he said the rear lot line, if that's the way it was stated, if that's the way it's written, then that doesn't mean side yard.
The current rule reads, golf cart shelters must be set 2 foot from the side lot lines and 2 foot from the rear lot line and at least 8 foot from the road.
Right.
What we're attempting to do by changing the rule is to make more people compliant with the rules, but we're changing the language. The golf cart shelter may be placed right on the side and rear lot lines and a minimum of 4 foot off the road. Now, I understand what you're saying as far as, well, it could happen, but I would hope that if we're going to use some common sense, if I'm going to put my a golf cart shed up, I'm going to work with my neighbor, and you know, I hope that we as members could use good common sense when we're doing that, and it doesn't become an issue.
Well, I'll give you an example right now, okay? I'm considering putting a shed on. So is my neighbor. He was going to order one. He says, I'm going to wait until it's changed so that I can put it right on the lot line. Okay? So if he gets his first, he's on the lot line, I might bump his when I put it in there right. And I might be 2 inches away from him because I want to be on the lot line too, which gives me more parking. Now, if you take into consideration those that are on a cul-de-sac, you don't have a whole lot of room parking in the front because you understand what I'm saying. So now you put them on the lot line 4 foot from the road, you're going to have a flood on the road or in somebody's backyard or something because there's a lot of water that comes off a roof. I don't have to tell anybody here. That's just common sense. So, you know, what is a foot? A foot isn't that bad. But you just voted on something that says I can be right up against one another. Where's the water going to go? That's common sense.
Water is the same no matter where you put it.
Oh, because it's Sandy Pines and we have a porous, huh?
What is running off the roof doesn't change in amount. It's still going to the ground, whether you put it down in a 1 foot spot, because you can't get closer than a foot anyway, because you get a 6-inch overhang. So you're still a foot apart at the ground, and if you're 4 foot apart, you're still dumping.
No, that's not what that says. That's not what that says. What that says is I can be on the lot line. So my 6-inch overhang can be on the lot line. And my 6-inch overhang can be on the lot
How
line.
much is in between 2 6 inches? 1 foot on the ground.
Where does it say that?
How are you gonna get, you got 6-inch overhang on the roof.
Yes, my overhang is going to be on the lot line.
Look, the intent was to give every member the maximum amount of space on their lot to provide as much room as there possibly can be to bring as many people into compliance with the state regulations and have as maximum amount of usage of your area. That was the intent. Now you can sit here and we can what if it to death. That was the intent. Nothing's etched in stone. If it doesn't work out, hey, you know, in a couple of meetings, we can change it. That's okay, irregardless of what political party
change
you're
it,
from.
you
We
mean
can figure it out. This is the,
Is that going to mean grandfathered in?
no,
or-
there's no such thing as
What does that mean?
grandfathering. We're
Move it.
talking about, we can change the rules, you can move it that. You just said it's 6 inches is no big deal, so it's no big deal to move it 6 inches or a foot. We're not gonna debate, we're just telling you, that's what the intent was. We're trying to give every
all right.
opportunity for
Okay.
every member to have the maximum amount of usage of their space, and that's what it is. If it doesn't work out, you know, I know we're not like every member, we're not 100% perfect on everything, but we'll work to get it right. There's time to change things. This by far means is not the end of the world by any means. We'll get it figured out.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Dave. Anybody else? We had a couple over here.
No, I wanted to talk about the license plate.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
come tomorrow morning, you can talk about the license plates.
Chuck Miedema, D84.5. Thank you for your working on trying to resolve this because we had a situation that affected a lot of people, okay? I would like some clarification though because the previous park administrator had me move my shed twice and actually literally had me put it up against my mobile. So I want clarification that what you're doing tonight and approving is effective, that I can move my shed 4 feet from the road, and I am not going to have an issue.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is
Because my
correct.
wife said she wants it in writing because she doesn't want to
Okay.
see me move it again 2 more times. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we can move them tomorrow morning?
Larry Drew, Lot 219. I just have a question so rumors don't fly too much here. Is there word that this building's coming down?
That's a rumor.
It's a rumor?
That's a rumor.
It's not going to happen. They said all
No,
this stuff is
no.
moving over to the other side and this is going to be leveled.
No,
Just,
no, that's a rumor.
okay.
It's
Because
total.
there's a lot of it going around already, talking about what's happening here.
Yeah.
And make sure you tell all your neighbors that too. It's a rumor.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's a rumor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we need a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
So moved by Rick Day and supported by Kelly Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.